The op-ed pages of newspapers are different from the news section. Instead of ostensibly neutral, writers choose sides and frequently aim to provoke. But after a problematic piece by President Trump in USA Today, many are asking, should they also be factually sound? Adam has more.
This has been the greatest revolution ever to take place in our country.
It's been a busy week for President Trump, but amid multiple campaign rallies, he still found time to write this opinion piece for USA Today. And what a piece it was.
He wrote, as a candidate, I promised that we would protect coverage for patients with pre-existing conditions. I have kept that promise. You didn't keep that promise. That promise was forced on you because John McCain gave you the finger.
Trump also said so-called Medicare for All would take away benefits that seniors have paid for their entire lives. But as Jake Tapper noted, that's not quite right.
Senator Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan would actually increase benefits for seniors.
What's more, Trump called Democrats radical socialists who want to model America's economy after Venezuela. Glenn Kessler, the Washington Post's fact-checker, sized up these and other claims and concluded almost every sentence contained a misleading statement or a falsehood. So why did USA Today publish it? Editorial page editor Bill Sternberg says President Trump's op-ed was treated like other column submissions. We check factual assertions while allowing authors wide leeway to express their opinions. In this case, maybe a bit too much leeway.
So the thing I find most problematic about this, Tom, is that this felt more like a campaign piece, sort of like a vote for me and here's all the great things I've done, rather than an op-ed that would persuade somebody to join him on his side of, say, the economy or, something to do with guns or a policy that he was trying to convince Americans of. But that wasn't this, which goes, you were an editor. I know you didn't run the editorial pages. But
I did run the editorial pages.
You did that too, all right.
That's it. And the old saying was, and I think it still holds, that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but nobody's entitled to their own facts. And so I think that's where this really deserves a slap on the hand for USA Today.
You wouldn't have run it.
I wouldn't have run it without some kind of an explanation as to a challenge. You might want to take something like this and pair it with something else and just say this is a campaign debate. But here's where I think USA Today really deserves some fault here. It's the timing. Why would you take what is clearly a campaign-related piece? Here we are 2 weeks away, and in some cases, actually, people are starting to vote in the midterm elections, and run a piece like that without any kind of context or explanation as to what's going on.
Because normally they're kind of middle of the road. They're not really ideologically bent like some other newspapers.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, they had actually recommended against Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. So they do kind of move. Bad judgment on their part on this one, I think.
I don't know what you do. This is a difficult dilemma for USA Today because certainly I think that they're still caught in the old paradigm that if the President of the United States writes an op-ed, of course we're going to run it. Unfortunately, to paraphrase Dorothy Parker, every word of it was a lie, including and the. I mean, it was just a remarkable piece of disingenuous argumentation. And when they say they fact-checked it, what do they mean by that?
I don't know.
They say, well, we checked all the facts, they're all wrong, and so we said, okay, let's run it. This sounds like a pretty extreme measure, but I think I not only would have not run it, but I think I would have ordered up a news story on this piece of false propaganda that the President had tried to foist on.
Exactly. That would have been a better approach.
I agree with what Tom said. I would have run it, and I think I would have run a companion piece, whether it's from factcheck.org or an opposing politician or somebody from my own staff who went through and listed and vetted all of the claims that were made. But he's the President of the United States. I still believe that his words carry the weight of the office. I don't care how many times he tweets, his words still carry the weight of the office, and they're important ones. If you want more Trump, then don't run this, and you're going to increase cynicism of the press, and you're going to get more tweeting and more Trumps and more of the other side. So I think that you run it.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that when you have pieces like this, opinion pieces that are written, there's always some measure of hyperbole, right? People overstate to make their case. People cherry pick facts. For me, the problem is the critical mass that he reached in this. I mean, can any of us think of a case to be made for this claim that Democrats want to model the American economy after Venezuela? I can't. I don't think there is one. Now, there's a case to be made against the Medicare for All proposal. The president could have written, there have been concerns about rationing and delays for service in countries that have implemented more socialized medicine, but that's not what he did. So I too would love to know what the fact-checking notes were. I would love to know whether there was any internal discussion of, hey, how do you go back to the president and say, sir, you've taken a few too many liberties here, we'd like you to tone it down, or, work on this stuff? Or did they just look it over and decide he's the president, and therefore we've got to run?
I think it was
and
the latter.
If it was the latter, I think
this is a hot get for us.
I think it's too bad.
That's obvious.
Don't you think it was a hot get? I mean,
that's
because
my
he wasn't going to land it in the New York Times or the
Right.
Washington Post or nothing else with a national distribution. The LA Times wasn't going to run it.
Yeah.
As Bill Kovach and Tom Rosenstiel write in their great book, The Elements of Journalism, journalism's first obligation is to the truth. This detracts from our understanding. It doesn't enhance it in any way.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes, though, and I think back to Mike's point, that printing something like this out there to even expose the lies is a public service.
But they didn't do that.
They
needed an editor's note. By the way, the reason
That's
we're
right.
printing this is to expose.
Because without that, we wouldn't know that President Trump speaks falsely from time to time.